Hiya, I'd like to show you how we can use the vintage Venetian card shape from the Venetian composition collection from Tattered lace. Now this is a really fantastic die set because there's so many different card shapes you can actually create with this die set. So we just called it a card shaped die set, as it's not just to make one sort of style of card. But today I'd like to show you how we can actually put together a swing card. So the main die within the set is this outer die here, as you can see. But it's not actually a cutting die at all. If I turn it over and show you the reverse side, you can see that there's not actually any cutting edge to it. It's very much like a template. So it allows us to use these notches that we've got top and bottom, to use this link system with a few other dies within the set to actually line them up and get the perfect spacing every single time. So, in order to create this swing card, I'm going to be using the circle dies from the set, the half circles, and we get 2 of these. So all I've done to start with is I've taken a piece of white A4 card and I've taped down this outer die, and it's almost not really a die at all given it doesn't cut, but it's almost like a template, but we will call it a die for the purposes of today. So what we need to do is tape that down so it's nice and secure. Try and get it roughly centrally within your piece of A4 cardstock, but we don't need to worry about that too much as we are actually going to be trimming off the edges a little bit later. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have these notches top and bottom of this die, and these correspond with the notches that are on our other dies within the set. And this is using our link system from Tattered lace just to line them up, and they'll just slide into position. So I'm going to count 6 along from the top. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm just going to slide that into the 7th notch. And I'm going to do the same at the bottom. You can choose whatever number you'd like. Just for this card, I'm choosing the 7th little notch, and then just use some low tack washi tape in order to tape that into position like so it doesn't move. And always try and tape on the waist as much as you possibly can rather than the piece of cardstock that you're actually going to be using, just in case you do get some sticky from your tape transferred onto your cardstock. It's better if it is on the waist. I'm taking the other die, which is basically the other half, and I'm doing the same again. I'm counting 6 from the edge, and then on the 7th, that's where I'm lining my die up, and I'm taping it down again. And as you can see, between the 2 dies there, we've got just the 1 notch. But of course, we could be spacing them out whatever we would like. The options really are endless with this die set. So now that that's all taped down, what you will be doing is running that through your die cutting machine. Now you will need an A4 size die cutting machine in order to utilise this die, so something like your Kit & Caboodle Pro Cut would be absolutely perfect. So run that through your machine, and what you'll end up with then is this. So as you can see, we've got 4 score lines and 2 cut lines. All you need to do now is just trim off the edges. So you can see this template die has left a slight imprint on our cardstock, and just trim along the edges just to remove that. Now another option with this die set is actually to cut your cardstock to size, so just slightly smaller than that template die before you actually run it through your die cutting machine. But I personally find it easier to cut your cardstock after you've cut it, after you've actually die cut, that is. So that will give us something like this. So it's slightly smaller. And now what I've done with this one is I've actually utilised the card pack that comes with the Venetian composition collection. It's part of that collection, so all the tones have been matched perfectly with the charisma that is within this range. I've added some details that I've hand cut out of some of the backing papers from the USB, and I've just inked the edges. And then in order to fold this up, the left 2 score lines, we're going to do a mounting fold. So it folds like that, and then the score lines on the right, we're going to fold the opposite way, so it's going to be a valley fold. So it gives us a design like so, and this gives us our swing element. So you can see you can swing it back and forth, and it creates a card shape with real interest. So as you can see, the score line on the left was a mountain and the score line on the right was a valley, and that gives us our swing card. What I'd like to show you now is how we can actually build up this card and decorate it. We're going to be utilising some of the other dies that come within the Venetian compositions collection. So I'm going to be using some of the flowers. Now I did do another video showing how we can actually cut these flowers. So just check that out and you'll see how it's so easy to die cut using your floral composition die set. and the charisma from the USB, and you can create your own floral compositions like we have here. And I've got lots of different designs that I've used, different charisma, cut them all out of the charisma. I've chopped into some of them, snipped them down to size, which is what you can be doing at home just to give you lots of different effects. But we've got those flowers there ready to decorate our card. But first of all, I've taken a couple of the circles that actually come within this Venetian card shaped die set. I'm just going to start decorating the front. So I've die cut using the circles from the same set, and I've die cut them from some of the backing papers that come on the USB. You can see we've got these gorgeous soft vintage tones, and I've just inked it around the edges using our Rare Earth Mochaccino Reactions ink pad. And I've added some foam tape to the back of these pieces just for a little bit of dimension and to add a little bit more interest to this card. So you can see we've got that gorgeous lacy design which comes on the backing paper, which is on the USB, and again inking the edges. And that's that front panel matted and layered. Within the card shaped die set, we've also got some fantastic sentiments, and the one I've chosen for this particular card is what a great reason to celebrate. Now that could be so many different occasions. It could be a birthday, it could be an anniversary, even a wedding, a congratulations card. There's so many different options just with that sentiment. I've cut it out using a peachy blush sort of tone from our card pack that comes with the Venetian composition collection, and I've added the outer die, and I've also drop shadowed the sentiment in a gold cardstock just to give that touch of opulence. Again, I've added some foam tape to the back just to raise it up a little bit from the circle, and adding that into the centre like so. And that's the front part built up a little bit. We are of course going to be adding our flowers in a little while. Now if we open the card up, we've got this section in the middle, and I've taken another of the dies from the collection, which is the Vintage Applique die set. You can see it's got some gorgeous tattered lace detail within there. It's so lacy and fine and filigree. And I've just actually trimmed into the design, just cut the edges off, just to cut it down to size so that it'll fit within that area. I'm taking some of my everyday glue and taking my glue applicator, and I'm just going to add a little bit of glue onto this design. Now we don't have to cover it in glue. It's nice if we actually have some areas of the design that are free, so they get a little bit of movement, which adds extra interest to our project. We're just adding enough glue so that it's anchored down into position and it's not going to be going anywhere. So just dotting the glue around, and as you can see we've got areas of the die cut that are more solid that allow us to get some glue onto there to be stuck onto the card. So it's all been thought about really carefully, even down to how we're actually going to stick the die cut onto our card itself. So aligning that into the middle and just pressing that down so it's firmly stuck into position, but we do have a little bit of movement. You could even be curling the edges like so, just to give a really interesting effect. So that's the main body of the card, but I think it needs some flowers added to it. So we're using the floral composition die set, using lots of the different flowers from there. And what I tend to do, and what's a really nice idea to do, is cut quite a few of your flowers. So you can see I've got quite a few here, flowers, leaves, I've trimmed into some of them. And then just play around with your composition, just have a look how you want to actually dress up your card. And once you're happy with how it's looking, just glue them down after, but always lay out your flowers first and just have a think of how you want to build up your design. If you've got lots of flowers cut, it just gives you lots of different options. You can play around with your design until you're entirely happy. So I've added some little foam pads to the back of these to stick them down. You could be using your silicone glues, your 3D glue gels, even wet glue if you prefer. It's completely up to you. But by adding a little bit of dimension using the foam pads, it will give the flowers a lift off the card and make them really stand out. So peeling the backs off these little foam pads. You can use foam tape and cut it down to size, but I find these foam pads are very easy to use with smaller designs like these. And just sticking that onto there so that it hugs that circular design. And that's the front part of the card finished. I'd just like to decorate this part here, so I'm going to open up the card again. I'm going to take some more of my flowers, so I've got this design. I'm going to stick that onto that edge, so it's just hugging that circular design of the card. Now you can be cutting as many of these flowers as you like. Within the USB we've actually got 6 different charisma designs for this die set, the floral composition die set. So there's lots of different options, but you can be building up lots of other designs too with the dies within that set. And then I'm going to add a few leaves onto that, just to balance. So we had the similar tone of leaves on the left hand side of the card, so we're going to bring that tone across to the right side of the card and make it all flow beautifully and make the card really harmonious from left to right. Just sticking that down onto there, and that will give us our finished card. We could of course be adding more flowers if we so desired, but I'm quite happy with how that is at the moment, and that's how we can put together a swing card really quite quickly and easily using the Venetian Compositions collection from Tattered Lace.